Oi! Welcome to the first content of the new week on Uncle Weezy's channel. Welcome everybody that's watching live. Smooth Jimmy is about as ready as he's ever going to be. I'm ready. I hope everybody that's watching is ready for the first episode of Balls Deep Breakdown of the week with me, your host, Uncle Weezy. We're going to get into an interesting fight here. A fight that the bookies see is quite one-sided, but I see as a very compelling matchup, a clash of styles, if you will. And I can't wait to get into the stats with all you guys that are already hanging out with me here. We got Big J in the room. Oi! Good to see you, Big J. Thanks for hanging out, my man. We got Alex Ramirez, the General, in here taking notes as usual. Thanks for hanging out, General. We got my guy Chris Kalanzis. Let's go, Uncle Weezy. Let's go, Chris. Let's go balls deep into the stats. We got Headley one here. If the name ends in V, add like minus 200 to the money line. That is right. And we can even add to that. And we could say if the last name is Nurmagomedov, add minus 500 to the money line. You'll see guys like Abubakar Nurmagomedov be like a minus 500 favorite when he should be a push 'em at best. So, yeah, you're going to see some of these guys get a little bit of the hype tax put on their name because they have that Russian name, because maybe they come from Makhmoud in Dagestan. Yeah, and Muradov's got a lot of hype on his name, but he is not from Dagestan, my friends. He is from one of the most upstart stands in the Central Asian region, my friend, Uzbekistan. Stand up. I've been saying it over and over and over again recently. Lilia Shakarova, Makhmoud Muradov, Zaruk the Lion Adashev. Who else do we have from Uzbekistan? I'm definitely missing somebody here. Another Uzbek who just recently got a win. I'll come up with it later, but it doesn't matter. Uzbekistan is being very well represented in the UFC, and it is definitely one of these upstart countries like Georgia that has been giving us a bunch of very exciting mixed martial artists to watch. And Makhmoud Muradov is definitely at the top of that list. And Headley one saying Makhmoud would be minus 300, or he would be minus, Makhmoud Murad would be minus 300. Makhmoud Muradov minus 500, that minus 200 tax. And Headley one saying he was expecting just the tip, but he got balls deep. Ouch. Well, you know what? Balls deep is for the veterans. It's for the looser amongst us that are a little more lubricated, if you will, because we are going to go deep into these stats. So you better get ready because your Uncle Weezy's bringing the heat. We got my man DFS by the numbers. He's going to be doing a new show on his channel. I don't exactly know what it is yet, but when this cat gets ideas, they are very good ideas. The last one that I remember was the new DraftKings show on Pub Sports Radio, which you all should tune into at 6 o'clock Central Time on Tuesday nights with myself, DFS by the numbers, Z's MMA, and Luke from Sparring with Reality, where we go over the upcoming DraftKings card and give you a bunch of different looks, a bunch of different ways to cash. And that is a new show that he had an idea for. And I know he's got another one coming up. But check us out on Pub Sports Radio on Tuesday night at 6 o'clock Central Time. And also check out Stat Diggers. That is in the link to Stat Diggers is in the description. We went into all 12 fights on this card. Brady and I did for about 2 hours and 20 minutes last night. You should check that one out if you haven't yet. We got Dan Goldstein in the room, the MMA YouTube community's best comedian, telling us Uncle Weezy had us anticipating the tip, and we were surprised with the whole length of the thing early. And let's make that like button's throat hurt. Oh, it's so fantastic. Dan Goldstein, you do it every time, man. Daz Files rightfully laughing at that. We got Grateful Dude saying GM3 by sub is plus 625 if you're on that side. My friend, we will be talking about that. Thank you for bringing that to the attention of the room because that is some very important information. We got Jack Attack in the room. Big Wheeze and the boys. We got Big Jack Attack. Thank you for hanging out here. We got JSJ23 saying, "What's up, Weezy?" And he's saying he's got the little razor in the ass out there. There's some ass shavings on this card, and this just might be one of them. Thanks for hanging out. JSJ made one of the best points in the Stat Diggers chat last night when he said, "Nothing gets Uncle Weezy more fired up than a wrestler that doesn't wrestle." And man, do you know me, JSJ? We got Pat Timber saying, "Pat Timber cash big time Uncle W." Kakramanov says, "Jack Attack MMA." That's the guy. Saeed Yokub Kakramanov. It's always easiest to forget the 9-syllable Uzbekistani names, and that was one of them. That's the guy last week. That was my low-owned dart throw pick on the DraftKings show last week, and he got a third-round knockout over, or was it a submission? I forget what it was, but he got him right. Trevin Jones right at the end of the third round there. We got Dan Goldstein saying the exact same thing, and he just got beaten to the punch there by Jack Attack. We got Nigel Lee. What up, Weezy? Here to get in deep. Let's go, Nigel Lee. Thanks for hanging out, man. What the hell did I just walk into? We got Weezy Brahimaj, the check there. Yeah, man, Ramiz definitely got the job done. Looked fantastic. And we actually got to see what kind of a fighter he looks like when he uses his wrestling, when he goes to his strengths. That's exactly what he did against Palatnikov, and we got to see the best Ramiz Brahimaj. So stand up, Ramiz Brahimaj. Fantastic performance on Saturday for that young man. Dan Goldstein saying, "Nigel, you knew what this was." Jack Attack saying, "It's going to take a miracle to get me off of Muradov, though I love me some GM3. I'm a big fan of GM3. The guy is a G. We're going to look into the stats here, man. Both of these guys, so good. But, man, I was very impressed with Muradov. JSJ, can I present a case for GM3? I'll do my best, my man, because there's obviously a path. There's obviously a path. There's a path for any mixed martial artist at this level, especially a veteran of GM3's experience and skill level. He's very tricky on the ground. If you make any kind of a mistake there, he can quickly end the fight. We're going to see how many wins he has in his career by submission. It's going to blow you away. Dan saying, "Drove him to drink 2 weeks running." Yeah, it did, Dan. I was right there. Dan, it gets me every time. And Chris Calanza saying, "Bring back Uncle Hefner." My friend, tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Central Time, just the tip. The sensual prelude to the Balls Deep breakdown will be live on Uncle Weezy's channel. We will be going just the tip into the full card of UFC Vegas 35, giving you a little look at all these fights and all the statistical parts of these fights that I find the most compelling. So stay tuned, Chris Calanzas, for tomorrow night's Just the Tip, and you will see the Uncle Hefner smoking jacket brought out in all its glory again. So here we are, you guys. We are ready to get into these stats. Look at Smooth Jimmy. He's ready as he'll ever be. So let's go in to these numbers and start like we always do on Balls Deep Breakdown with the tail of the tape, my friends. Makhmoud Muradov, 2 years younger, 1 inch taller, and Gerald Meerschaert will have the 2-inch reach advantage here. This is a southpaw Meerschaert, and Makhmoud Muradov is an orthodox fighter. However, Muradov constantly changes stances. He is very, very light on his feet, and he moves around a lot. He's constantly changing stances. So he's going to give Meerschaert a lot of different looks on the feet. These are some really interesting experience numbers. We don't get to see this very often in the UFC. Makhmoud Muradov and Gerald Meerschaert combined have 77 fights. That is amazing. That is a lot of fights for these guys. These are a couple of big-time veterans here. Muradov with 31 professional fights and Gerald Meerschaert with 46. 32-14 for Meerschaert, 25-6 for Makhmoud Muradov, and Muradov is on a 14-fight winning streak right now. This guy is absolutely on fire. And then we've got a 50-minute cage time advantage for Gerald Meerschaert here. Both of these guys' average fight time is above 5 in less than 10 minutes. So both of these guys are definitely finishing fights and getting finished inside the distance way more than they aren't. And then we see that Gerald Meerschaert has 5 more years as a pro, 14 years and 7 months for a 33-year-old. So we know that Gerald Meerschaert's been fighting professionally since the age of 18. And if we look at Makhmoud Muradov, it's probably since the age of about 22. But prior to that, Muradov was competing in Sambo and professional kickboxing. So he is definitely a very well-rounded mixed martial artist. If we get into the UFC experience here, we will see that Gerald Meerschaert has fought a much greater percentage of his career at the highest level, as he has 13 of his 46 professional fights have been in the UFC, while for Muradov, 31 professional fights, only 3 of them at the UFC level, less than 10%. We see that Meerschaert 7-6 in the UFC, while Muradov is still undefeated at 3-0. And the average fight time for Meerschaert is 7.08 minutes, while for Muradov, it's 14.04, which is interesting because he's finished 2 out of his 3 wins. So he does tend to finish fights late. If we look at the finish numbers for these gentlemen here, we will see that Makhmoud Muradov has finished 2 out of his 3 wins inside the distance in the UFC, both of them by KO. And we see that Gerald Meerschaert has finished 100% of his 7 UFC wins inside the distance. 6 of them by submission, 1 of them by knockout. And we see that Gerald Meerschaert has a 94% finish rate as a professional. And he's got 75% of those wins are coming by way of submission. That's 32 total wins. So we're talking 24 career wins by submission for Gerald Meerschaert. This guy is very tricky on the ground. You don't want to be there with him. And then we've got a 19% finish rate by knockout as well. So the guy does have some ability to be able to finish you in a number of different ways. We will see that Makhmoud Muradov, a very good finisher in his own right, as he has finished 20 of his 25 professional wins inside the distance, 68% by knockout, 12% by sub. So we've got 3 submissions and 17 knockouts for Makhmoud Muradov. And then if we look at how these guys are getting finished, we can see that Muradov, who's a knockout artist, we see that Gerald Meerschaert has been finished once by knockout and 4 times by submission, it looks like. Or no, that's overall. I'm sorry. So in the overall, we're talking 14. So 3 losses by knockout in his career, and 8 by submission. So 11 of those 14 losses for Gerald Meerschaert have come inside the distance. And for Makhmoud Muradov, in those 6 losses, 3 of them have come by submission and 1 of them by knockout. So Muradov's a knockout artist, and Gerald Meerschaert has been knocked out 3 times. And Gerald Meerschaert is a submission artist, and Makhmoud Muradov has been submitted in 3 of his 6 professional losses. So these stats are telling me that this is a very, very likely fight to finish inside the distance. Makhmoud Muradov has a great chance to knock out Gerald Meerschaert, much like Khamzat Chimaev did. And Gerald Meerschaert, if this fight does go to the ground and he can keep it there, he's very tricky down there, and he does snatch up a lot of chokes. So this is going to be a very interesting stylistic matchup. I think we can safely call this a striker versus grappler matchup, with Muradov being the striker and Meerschaert being the grappler. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat before we get into the striking statistics here. All right. So we've got Dan Goldstein saying the tip is where all the good bits are. That is proven science. See, Dan Goldstein's not just funny. This guy's got a brain in his head there, because that's some science that he's dropping in this room for you guys, completely free of charge. You should all thank him. We got BG saying more innuendos, please. I mean, if I'm not giving you enough at this juncture, man, I don't know, dude. Maybe you should be watching porn, but I'm doing my best, BG. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. We got Nigel Lee saying, my girl's sitting here laughing because she keeps hearing just the tip. Yeah, that's we got Dan laughing. We got saying Makhmoud Muradov isn't Fabinski. That he is not. That is for sure, Pat. And we've got Dan Goldstein saying, I don't know if GM3 has enough Scottish in him to pull a Paul Craig. Yeah, Paul Craig's a badass, man. I'm such a big fan of his. We got Pain Fight Predictions in the room saying, what's up, Weezy? And he's saying that the most confident pick of the card for me Muradov should easily stuff the takedowns. GM3 is a good submission artist off his back, but never known for his takedown offense. Muradov should KO him. Dude, I'm right there with you on that one, Pain Fight Predictions. And let's see here. I skipped a couple. We got Jack Attack MMA saying, I think Meerschaert is more of a Lederhosen type of name than a kilt type of name, Dan, my man. He's right about that. See, I had a suspicion, Jack. If he's a proven Frenchman, it's a wrap. Well, there's a couple pretty damn good Frenchmen these days in the MMA space. You know, Francis Ngannou living in France, Cyril Gane living in France. Some of the biggest, baddest men on the planet. The last judo heavyweight gold medalist was French. Those guys are tough, man. They're a lot tougher than people give them credit for. I'll tell you that right now. We got BG with the thumbs up. We says, Headley one saying, fight does not go to decision minus 305 on 5 dimes. It's so juiced, but you know what? Headley one, it's actually worse than that in a lot of other places already. I think I'm hearing already minus 350, maybe even minus 400 in some spots. The bookies are onto it, man. You know, the violence numbers kind of speak for themselves for this fight. And so we've got Pain Fight Prediction saying he has Muradov in his parlay. And I don't like parlays normally, but this is 1 week where there are a lot of bets that are sticking out and they feel like the line isn't even wide enough yet. So I could see putting some parlays together here and so a lot of them working out. And I definitely noticed that DraftKings is onto it, man. They're juicing the Petrosky line, the Muradov line, the Aldrich line, and the Martinez line. They're way juiced on DraftKings in comparison to the other books right now. So I think a lot of people are already parlaying these guys, and we're going to see a lot of profitable parlays this week, I would imagine. Alessio at minus 200 on FanDuel. Is that a good price tag, or am I too confident at Uncle Weezy? I actually think that minus 200 isn't even close to wide enough. We talked about that one last night on Stat Diggers, DFS by the numbers, and we are both big fans of DiChirico in this fight. I'm just really worried that Abdul Razak Al Hassan might be done. You know, it's really hard to come back from what he's come back from. He's fighting up a weight class now. His power probably isn't going to translate as well up there. And he already had bad takedown defense as a welterweight. So people that want to take him down, I think, are easily going to be able to do it at middleweight. And I think that the Malkoun fight was about as good of an indication that that's the case as we can see. So, yeah, I'm definitely going with DiChirico here. And I think he's going to be a big-time parlay piece. And I like that number at minus 200. I think that's I like it a lot. I like it a lot, Pain Fight Predictions. We got, I'm sorry, who's this one? This is Daz File saying Muradov, Petrosky, and Martinez for my one parlay. I'm right there with you, Daz Files. I think that's a fantastic parlay. Dan Goldstein saying, hearing that line is juiced before mine's even opened. Feels like it's forcing me to parlay or going Muradov side out right via round props. Yeah, and that's the problem. You know, some of these fights that are foregone conclusion, you feel like in order to get some kind of a line that's worth betting, you need to go into the smaller and smaller areas, like trying to pick it by KO or by submission, or trying to pick the round, or even trying to pick both. And a lot of times I think you're better off just saying, you know what, maybe I don't have to throw 4 units to win one, but I could throw 1 unit down to win 0.25. And you just grow your bankroll. You don't necessarily have to throw a ton of money at a big wide money line if you're just confident about it coming in. There's nothing wrong with chipping away at these bookies a little bit at a time. You know, slow and steady wins the race. We can take our big shots every once in a while, but we want to win more bets than we lose, and we want to bank these picks, and we want to cash these bets. So there's nothing wrong with taking some of these guys that you like, and don't have to worry about always getting your bets to plus 100 or minus 150 on a parlay. Maybe sometimes just take the minus 350, put a unit on it, and then just cash those bets over and over again. You stack those winning tickets like flapjacks, and before you know it, man, that account's fat. And that wallet's like you got you sitting on a little bit of an angle because it's raising up your right ass cheek because it's getting fatter and fatter and fatter, one bill at a time. So that's how I'm trying to do it, my man. We got DFS by the numbers saying Petrosky just hit minus 600 on Bet Online. This is going to be one chalky week. And dude, you are so right. That's why I think a lot of people are just going to hit the payrolls. Hit the parlays. Pain Fright prediction saying I 100% agree with you. I'm right there with you, man. And then we've got, let's see, Dan Goldstein saying, yeah, I wanted a straight bet in Petrovsky, but there's more value in betting ping pong now. Yeah, you got that right, man. Mine is 600. There's not a lot of value there, but maybe I'll just, I'll bet a unit to win 1/6 of a unit, and then I'll be out there on Twitter being like, your boy Weezy just cashed 1/6 of a unit, and it's not going to get me on the front page of any papers. I'm not going to be carried off the field, on the shoulders of my teammates, but it's a little bit more money in the account. And we got JSJ saying that he snapped up the Jacoby Muradov parlay at minus 110. I like that, dude. I like that a lot. And then Pain Fright predictions saying, fight doesn't go to decision, minus 185. Martinez Guido. I'm in love with that line at Uncle Weezy and DFS by the numbers. And DFS by the numbers says he's already on it, Pain. And yeah, we were talking about that earlier, man. I'm right there with you, Pain Fight. Dan Goldstein saying, yep, agreed, Weezy. A bookie ass shaved one scrape at a time. That's right, man. That's how you got to do it. We got Good Look Junior. We got Pain Fright saying, who's Junior at Jack Attack MMA? My name's Pain at Jack Attack MMA. Jack Attack saying. We got Baby You're a Bet saying, God bless, brother. God bless, and God bless you as well, my man. We got Jack Attack saying, I'll call you PFP. JSJ speaking of chalk, anyone laying minus 400 on JJ Aldrich? I will not be doing that, my friend. I think she wins the fight. I think she's way bigger than Little Monster, but once the line gets that wide, the value is really on the underdog. Pain Fight saying that's good. Thank you. And then my man Hammering Hog. Yo, bro, what's our greasy four-legger for this weekend? Yeah, you asked me last week on Just a Tip, and because I wasn't interacting with the chat very much, I didn't want to give one because I didn't want to come up with one on the top of my head. But we got a little bit of time here. I'm going to definitely get this done before Clint goes live for the Die Hard MMA podcast. But if I'm coming up with a greasy four-legger right now, I would say that I'm going to be on Martinez Canetti, fight doesn't go to decision. I am going to say DeChirico money line, Muradov money line, and Petrosky money line. Book it. That's the greasy four-legger Uncle Weezy first content of the week, balls deep breakdown parlay for my guy Hammer and Hog. We got Pain Fright saying, heck no, not even a good parlay piece at JSJ 23. That's a dog or fight pass for me. Yeah, dog or pass fight. Yeah, I agree that. Last card was fucked, bro. No spots. Yeah, I agree, man. I stayed small. I got lucky cashing the Madsen bet. I cashed my Pichel bet, and I cashed my small Cannoneer money line bet. The only one that didn't come through was half unit on Madsen inside the distance. So I stayed small, wound up profitable, and this week we can definitely find a lot more spots that are just kind of screaming ass shaving. I had a hard time coming up with an ass shaving of the week last week, but this week, there's going to be like 5 easy choices. So I'm going to have to come up with the best one. And then JSJ saying 100% Pain. And then we got Dave Crack saying, are your lights out? No, my lights are all on, man. Everything's all good over here. We got Daz saying, anyone betting Meerschert by sub round 3 even? That's when Muradov tends to win, is in the round 3. Locked in from the GOAT himself, Hammering Hog. Let's hit that second straight greasy-ass four-legger, man. There's an easy one. This week should be an easy one to come up with that. We got, thanks. I appreciate you too, Hammering Hog. You're always hanging out here, man. Daz Fowler saying, I stayed small too. Thanks for that advice. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, it worked well. And this week, I think we can get in a little bit deeper because there are definitely some great spots. So let's get into these striking numbers here. We see Makhmoud Muradov throwing a ton of volume here for a middleweight. 12.48 significant strike attempts per minute, and his opponents are only throwing 8.31. So that not only is he, throwing with some really good striking accuracy, showing some fantastic striking defense, but, he's throwing 3 strikes for every 2 that his opponent throws. So he's doing very well on the feet. 42.5% striking accuracy. He's shown some decent power, 0.45% knockdowns per total significant strikes landed, and 0.36 knockdowns per 15 minutes. Well, we see Meerschaert a little more economical on the feet, 3.31 out of 7.63. His striking accuracy is right there on par with Muradov's. His power numbers are actually a little bit better than Muradov's, but we know that Meerschaert's fights take place in control time positions at a much higher rate than Muradov's do. Excuse me, just for a sec here. So we see that the knockdowns per 15 minutes, even though he's landing a knockdown on a higher percentage of his significant strikes, 0.66%, he's got a little less knockdowns per 15 minutes than Muradov does. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about here was the 64.86% striking defense from Muradov. We do know that Muradov has a professional kickboxing background. He is damn good on the feet, you guys. If you go and you watch the tape of this guy, he's constantly moving his feet. He never, ever, ever stands right in front of his opponent. He's moving laterally constantly. He very rarely backs up in a straight line. And when he throws punches, if he's not going to throw in combination, he will enter, hit you, and then go right back out. And he's always cutting backwards on an angle. He's not there to be countered when he hits you. His striking, just the way he flows, the way he moves, the diversity of strikes that he throws, he's really good, you guys. When this guy is on his feet, he is usually just piecing up his opponents. He's had a couple of close fights in the UFC. The one with DeChirico in particular was pretty close. But, he's really outclassing people that aren't known for their striking, and he makes them look silly. He's got great boxing. He's got great footwork. He's fast. He's powerful, and he's extremely elusive. That's 64.86% striking defense. And look, he's landing 5.32 significant strikes a minute, but only absorbing 2.92. I mean, he is really, really outclassing his opponents on the feet. While we see that Gerald Meerschaert is absorbing a little bit more than he lands, 0.29 negative significant strike differential, and his opponents are throwing a little bit less than he does. He's showing a not good 51% striking defense, and he has been knocked down on 0.9% of the significant strikes that he's absorbed. So that means that he's been knocked down 3 times in 331 significant strikes absorbed. So there's definitely a path there for Makhmoud Muradov to knock this guy out. And then we're going to also notice that he's been knocked down about 0.49 times per 15-minute fight, or per 15 minutes in the UFC. So Makhmoud Muradov, in my opinion, has a absolutely gigantic striking advantage in this fight. It's really not going to be close when they're on the feet. So Gerald Meerschaert's going to need to get this fight to the ground in order to be successful. And one of the things that I just want to show you right off the bat here, before we get into the grappling stats as a whole, I want to show you guys the clash of styles that this fight represents here. If we look at Makhmoud Muradov's control time numbers, we've got 3 fights in the UFC and only 6 takedown attempts. He's only gotten 1 of 6 takedown attempts. And we're talking 2.41% control time for and 2.81% control time against. That means about 94% of Makhmoud Muradov's fights are taking place at distance, at striking range, where he has got an absolutely huge advantage over Gerald Meerschaert. And here is the clash in styles that I was speaking about. Gerald Meerschaert has 23.75% control time for and 26.54% control time against. So that means over 50% of Gerald Meerschaert's fights are taking place in control time positions. Gerald Meerschaert is a grappler, and the higher that percentage goes up, the higher a percentage of a chance that Gerald Meerschaert is going to be successful in this fight. I can tell you that if this fight takes place 95% in the striking range, Makhmoud Muradov is probably going to win this fight 95% of the time. You know, he's just really good on the feet. And if Gerald Meerschaert is unsuccessful getting this to the clinch, getting it up against the cage, or getting it on the ground, I just don't see how he wins this striking battle. And what's really important here is that we do have these 2.81 against and 2.41 for. You know, that's 5.22% of his fights are taking place in control time positions. You know, that means 94% aren't. So that's going to be, in my opinion, what determines the outcome of this fight. What percent of this fight is going to be taking place in these control time positions? If you think after watching the tape that it's going to be around 90-95%, you should not be betting Gerald Meerschaert. If you think that Meerschaert can pressure him, cut off the cage, make it dirty, get it to the ground, then he's going to have a much better chance than what the bookmakers are giving him right now of sneaking out a victory here. Gerald Meerschaert has 13 UFC fights, as we can see over here all the way to the left. He's got 32 takedown attempts in those 13 fights. So that's about 2.5 takedown attempts per fight. He's gotten 14 of them. So he's been an efficient wrestler. 43.75% takedown offense, 2.28 takedowns per 15 minutes, 1.79 submission attempts per 15 minutes. And we see that his takedown defense is pitiful at 43.75, but that doesn't matter. Gerald Meerschaert doesn't give a shit if you take him down. I mean, if you shoot for a takedown against this guy, he will fold like a lawn chair and gladly get on his ass and start working from his back, working for a sweep. And if we look at the advanced stats for this fight here, one of the things that surprised me was that the amount of reversals. Gerald Meerschaert has 8 reversals, 8 in all of his fights in the UFC. I mean, he's always on the ground. There's always a bunch of reversals. There's always a bunch of submission attempts that maybe he loses position on. He himself has been reversed 3 times. So these guys are scrapping. These guys are absolutely rolling around on the ground a lot. And we can see right here the control time numbers. 1,465 seconds of control time allowed in all of his fights, 1,311 seconds of control time for. If we add that up, it's about almost 2,800 out of 5,521 seconds that take place in control time positions. And we see, he gets out-controlled here by 70 seconds, and about half this fight in a loss takes place in control time positions. Here, in a loss against Hermanson, he got subbed by, probably one of the better Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioners in the middleweight division. Here's a fight where there was a ton of control time, but he lost to Kevin Holland by split decision. Here's a loss to Eric Anders, only 9 seconds of control time, still managed a split decision, but he lost. And then we see, small amounts of control time in very short fights here. So most of his fights are just taking place in control time positions, but Muradov's fights aren't taking place at all in control time positions. We can see here only 61 seconds of control time for, and only 71 seconds of control time against out of 2,528 seconds in the cage. So, yeah, this clash of styles that I'm referring to here is what's making me so confident about Makhmoud Muradov, is that I believe with his superior lateral movement, with his quickness, with his athleticism, it's going to be very hard for Gerald Meerschaert to find him. And then we don't really see Muradov facing a lot of takedown attempts here in the UFC. He's only seen 5 in 3 fights. He has successfully defended all 5, so he has 100% takedown defense. But you have to go back to his regional scene footage in order to get an idea for what this guy's takedown defense is. And I think in the Wendell Oliveira fight in particular, Oliveira got in deep on a couple of really good, well-timed, reactive takedown attempts off of an overhand right by Muradov. Got in deep on him. Dude, Muradov's got great balance. He's got great hips. He digs that underhook. Dude, this guy is really hard to take down. You know, this is kind of like the Smiling Sam Alvey versus Wellington Turman fight for me, in that Turman's got to be, you know, grappling in order to be successful. And you look at this huge sample size of fights for Sam Alvey where he's just almost impossible to take down. So you say, how does Turman win this fight? Well, I'm kind of feeling the same thing here about the Muradov Meerschaert fight, because the takedown defense that I've seen from Muradov, not only in the UFC, but in the regional scene footage when he was even less experienced, is really good. He's got great hips. You know, yeah, he's going to be very difficult to take down. And we see him that he already has shown that he can keep his fights at striking distance over 94% of the time. And that's over guys like Andrew Sanchez and Trevor Smith, who are known for being wrestlers. So this is so bad for Gerald Meerschaert. Who the fuck is booking his fights? His last 2 fights are Khamzat Chimaev, and then now he's fighting this fucking killer? This is bad, dude. Gerald Meerschaert's got to get a new manager, dude. Or maybe this is just what the only fights that the UFC is willing to feed him against these killer prospects whose arrows are just pointing straight up. Man, this is it's in the running for ass shaving of the week. You know, I think there are wider lines, but I just think it's just such a bad stylistic matchup for Gerald Meerschaert. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Let's see here. All right. Daz Files, where we left off, saying that he stayed small. And we got Hammering Hog saying the money teams own. And Pain Fight Prediction saying fight doesn't go to decision for main event, minus 125. I'm tempted. I like that a lot, Pain Fight Predictions, because we've never seen Giga go 5. And even though Edson Barbosa has been in a couple of 5-round main events, he's never been 5 rounds either. So, and it's only like minus 130, I think. Yeah, you got it at minus 125. So I think that's a really good line to chase. And I'm with you there, Pain Fight Predictions. Hammering Hog saying only MMA fighter part of Floyd's money team is Muradov. Yes, that's another thing, you guys. He's training with some of these great boxers that are part of Floyd Mayweather's team. He's so good on his feet. His footwork is the footwork of an elite boxer. I'm telling you. And that's why he moves so well. That's why it's so hard to take this guy down, is because he never just stands flat-footed in front of you. He's always moving laterally. He's always cutting angles, and he's got good enough conditioning in order to keep it up for 3 rounds and to be able to continue that very exhausting style of the constant movement. He's really good at it. That's a great point to bring up there, Hammering Hog. And we got Dan Goldstein saying, we try and stay small. We are all glorious degenerates who grow engorged by the whiff of the violence bet. Yeah, man, we got to try to tone it down sometimes, but I'm glad I was able to do it last week and be profitable. JSJ saying, Muradov has had camps for Andre Muniz and Carlos Jr. over the past couple of years. A lot of prep for grapplers. That's an excellent point. One that I didn't know. Another reason I love doing these balls deep breakdowns live with you guys, because you bring so much great information to the table. Appreciate that, JSJ. We got DFS by the numbers saying violence bets are the best, takes the horrible judges out of it. We were talking about that after Stat Diggers. We were having a little chat, and I'm like, it's just so much fun, you know, when you don't have to pick a side and you can just root for somebody getting knocked out, and you can completely get the judges' decisions out of it. It's completely up to the fighters. So, yeah, you got to love that, man. It's an excellent point. Pain Fight saying lots of violence bets I'm going to be doing for this card at DFS by the numbers. He's asking me, am I going to be covering Dana White Contender Series? The answer to that is actually no, because right now I'm so busy with the content that I'm already providing. And what the plan is for me on Tuesdays is to be doing the Pub Sports Radio DraftKings show at 6 p.m. Central Time, which will be happening 1 hour before the Contender Series goes live on Sunday nights. And then as soon as the Contender Series starts next Tuesday, I will be going live for Just the Tip after the Contender Series is over. So my content schedule right now between Stat Diggers on Sunday, Balls Deep breakdowns on Monday, the Pub Sports DraftKings show on Tuesday, Just the Tip on Tuesday night, more Balls Deep breakdowns on Wednesday. Is too much for me to be doing Contender Series content, but I know that I would be looking to guys like Z for that, because he is so damn good at prognosticating those lower level fights. When I'm looking to bet Contender Series, I'm going to be tailing guys like Z. And we got my guy Monk Maddox, the Monk Matician, in the room. Myself and Monk are going to be teaming up. We're looking to do it tomorrow for a very special Balls Deep breakdown on the Kevin Lee D-Rod fight, one of my favorite fights for this week. And Monk's got a ridiculous amount of numbers that, and I've got plenty on my own right. So we're going to go balls deep into the numbers together for my favorite fight of the week. So looking forward to doing that with Monk tomorrow. Keep an eye out for that on my channel. I'll let you guys know on Twitter, and Monk will as well, when we're planning on going live for that. Weezy, will I take Muradov in round 1? I don't know. I could see him easily finishing this fight in round 1, but Muradov's finishes have come in the 3rd round, both of them, in his UFC fights so far. He does get some first-round finishes, but Gerald Meerschaert's no scrub. I don't think I'm going to round bet this. I think the best way to bet it, if you're on Muradov, is to bet it inside the distance, because, we do know that Meerschaert has been finished in 4 out of his 6 UFC losses, and that, Muradov in his own right has got a 2 out of 3 finishing rate in the UFC. So I think I would bet, if I want to just get a little more value, rather than having to jump up to minus 500 or so for Makhmoud Muradov, that I would think about just betting him inside the distance. Thanks for hanging out, Tristan. Good to see you again. We got Dan Goldstein saying, grappling upside to GM3 aside, explain this fight in riddle form. What's the difference between GM3 and Betty White? One can probably take a good shot, and one's GM3. I've never heard somebody saying Betty White can take a punch. God help us. Thank you, Dan. Muradov inside the distance, says Hammering Hog, and I agree with that. BG saying that is balls deep. We got Hammering Hog saying, I am bake as fuck. Best thing to do is ramp bowls and watch the experts, DFS and Weezy, inject knowledge in the veins. I appreciate that, Hammering Hog. We got Dan saying the knowledge contained in here will most likely make you big and veiny, my brother. And we got JSJ saying GM3 with just 2 takedowns in his last 6 fights. DFS by the numbers pointed that out to me earlier today. He's going to need Muradov to slip out a banana peel. Yeah, man, I tend to agree with you there, man. Oh, wow, man, you guys are killing the chat. Hammering Hog saying, also love the low-key sexual innuendos in these names. Just the tip of balls deep breakdowns. Yeah, man, we're definitely neck deep in innuendo here on this channel. Weezy's my brain needs a break. Check chat, please. Who is booking Gerald's fights? Yeah, man, I hear you, man. 1-800-manager needed. Surely they keep him around for one more chance after he gets sacked down on his ass. He did 2 fucking tough fights in a row for GM3 here. Nigel Lee just saying, my girl just gave me another side eye. She said, I hope you aren't shaving anyone's ass. Thomas Howard saying, give me violence on this one. Gerald might catch him next or get slapped. Yeah. We got JS3 saying, JSJ saying, think UFC booked this to add to Muradov's highlight reel. Fighting GM3 worked wonders for Heinisch and Kamaev. Yeah, boy. And we got Tristan saying, thanks, Weezy, for taking my question. Hey, thank you for hanging out, Tristan. I appreciate it. Pain Fight saying this is full of easy money, and I tend to agree with you, man. I don't know who's going to be the bed shitter on this one. Dan is hilarious, man. And we got Muradov inside the distance at minus 225 is juiced, but the sensible play. Yeah, that feels a little bit better than me. I like that. Minus 225. That's not bad at all. Let's take a look at the strength of schedule stats that I have for you guys here in the last 5. And let's get this off the screen here so you guys can see everything. So according to my strength of schedule metrics, The better win-loss competition has been faced on the aggregate by Gerald Meerschaert at 1.42 compared to 1.08. Muradov's opponents have been on the aggregate a little more experienced with 9 total fights compared to 7.08. The average fighter that Meerschaert faces off against has a record of 4.15 and 2.92 in the UFC, while for Muradov, it's a little more experienced opponent with not as good of a win-loss ratio at 4.67 wins, 4.33 losses. Meerschaert's wins are a little bit better on the ratio at 1.23 to 1.08, but we do see that Muradov is beating the more experienced competition at 9 total fights. And then if we see the guys that Meerschaert is losing to, they have an average record of 6.33 and 4.17 for 10.5 total fights and a ratio of 1.52. So we see Muradov in his last 5 win by knockout over Andrew Sanchez in the 3rd round, win by knockout over Trevor Smith in the 3rd round. And if you haven't seen that Trevor Smith knockout, you've got to check it out. The mouthpiece goes flying. It is an absolute thing of beauty. And he was setting up those strikes by going to the body as soon as he dropped his guard. Big overhand right, caught him right on the jaw, sent the mouthpiece flying, and he was out on his feet before he even hit the ground. A great fight against Alessio Di Chirico, where Muradov got really tired in the 3rd round. But I mentioned that to DFS by the numbers, and he reminded me that Muradov took that fight on short notice. That was his UFC debut. Took it on 11 days' notice. Real tough 3-round scrap against Di Chirico, where he won the first 2 rounds and then really got a pace put on him in the 3rd, but managed to hold up and win the decision. And then wins by knockout over Wendell Oliveira and Alberto Uda in the regional scene in Europe. Even though Muradov is Uzbekistani, I believe he's lived in Prague for a long time, and that's where he trains out of. Both Wendell Oliveira and Alberto Uda were UFC veterans as well. So, and then if we look at Meerschaert, we had a win by sub. He got a quick guillotine over Bartosz Fabinski. A loss against Khamzat Chimaev. We know what happened there. That was quick. Another quick loss against Ian Heinisch. A win by sub over Darren Wynn. And then a loss by split decision to Eric Anders. So let's have a look at what the lines are available for this fight right now. And we can have a idea if there's anything that's really jumping out at the page at us here. So there it is. We've got the best lines that we're seeing here are minus 400 for Muradov. We can get plus 415 here on 5 dimes. If you can get that book, you can actually do an arbitrage here because you can get plus 415 and only have to give up minus 400. That's easy money right there. That's the old trader trick. But if we're looking at the over under here, we see the under 1.5 is set at minus 110. The over 1.5 set at minus 120. The fight doesn't go to decision on 5 dimes is minus 305, but it's minus 450 on whatever ref is. And let's see here. Let's see what the Muradov inside the distance line is here. Muradov inside the distance minus 225. So yeah, man, this is going to be probably the way to play it, in my opinion, is to bet the inside the distance on Muradov. Also, that fight doesn't go at minus 305 could be a nice parlay piece as well. And the Muradov money line, in my opinion, is a fantastic parlay piece if you're going to be parlaying bets. Like I say, it's going to take a real bad decision by Muradov in order to get into the grappling exchanges with Meerschaert here. And Makhmoud Muradov is not Trevin Giles. I don't think he's going to make those kind of mistakes. So yeah, I just see Muradov using his movement, using his footwork to stay on the outside, pick Meerschaert apart, and probably sometime around the 2nd round, I think he gets a finish here. So let's see what you guys are saying right now. Let's see. Yeah, Muradov inside the distance minus 225. It's juiced, but Dan Goldstein saying, I shouldn't be in public today, Brady. I'm higher than Shaq's nipple line. It's all right, man. We nobody cares about marijuana anymore, man. Monk saying, good Lord, this is the most juiced fight on the entire card. Under 1.5 at minus 110 is the only enticing number to me, really. Yeah, and even then, it's still 7.5 minutes, you know. I mean, Muradov, both of his finishes have come in the third round. So, yeah, it could be an early night, though. You know, the way that Muradov strikes and how crisp and accurate and powerful he is, you know, it could be a first-round knockout. I just think I don't want to see when these lines get juiced, it's because we do know who's going to win the fight. And sometimes it's just easy. It's just to lay a little bit of money on that money line and not try to win a unit, not try to win 2 units. Just try to win a little bit, you know, and just keep cashing those winning bets like we talked about earlier. But and let's see, Aldo saying that's also where he did gay porn. Who did gay porn? What happened there? I don't know anything about this, but my guy Aldo, one of the best dudes in Brady's Discord. And if you guys aren't a part of DFS by the Numbers Patreon, there's the best value on the web right there. You should get a part. You should get on that train, man. I've been on that Patreon for more than a year. And Pain Fight saying, I'm going to tape some DWCS fights. Good breakdowns, Weezy. See you around. Thanks for hanging out with us, man. Appreciate it. We got JSJ23 saying, Muradov, not a prolific round 1 finisher, though, Monk. Yeah, he hasn't been yet, but, you know, he's gotten a couple of guys, but still it's Meerschaert, and it's the bad stylistic matchup that makes me think that it could end early. But, you know, I don't think I'm going to chase the even money. I think I'm just going to not get too sexy here and try to just, you know, hit it at minus 400, maybe put a unit down, win a quarter unit, just stack those winning tickets. My book's not open props, but the round 1 and 2 prop is going to be overhydrated for sure. Ref has been online. You always tell me that, Brady, and I always fucking forget. But thanks for reminding me again. We got Monk saying, true, but Meerschaert is a prolific early nighter. Yes, he is. And winning and losing, hoping the combo of those two come together for an early finish. Yeah, agreed. Facts, yep. And we got Dan Goldstein saying, Meerschaert is going to Meerschaert the bed in the second, or I think early third. Yeah, I got to agree. Muradov in Prague. Yes, sir. Hammering Hog saying, Wee's getting a bit excited at the mention of gay porn. I don't think so, man. Not my thing. No judgment. You got to do what you got to do. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess some people do, you know. We got DFS Summer by the Numbers saying that decisionator Heinisch knocked out Gerald in a minute 14, leaning early finish. Yeah, man, he really caught him. And if Heinisch can catch you, Muradov most certainly can. So I think Clint's going to be going live for the Die Hard MMA podcast on Pub Sports Radio. So why don't we cut this short? I am going to predict a Gerald Meerschaert second round loss, a Makhmoud Muradov second round finish by KO here. I'm going to bet that Muradov inside the distance line, and also probably have some money straight on the money line as well. And I also love the fight doesn't go to decision. If you can get it at a nice price, like minus 305 right now on 5 dimes, I think that's a great parlay piece. I think there's a lot of great parlay pieces on this UFC Vegas 35 card. I appreciate you guys hanging out for a balls deep breakdown. I'm going to go over to Pub Sports Radio and watch the Die Hard MMA podcast. I recommend all of you guys do the same. Thanks for hanging out, you guys. Tomorrow you can catch me, Brady, Z's MMA, and Luke from Sparring with Reality on Pub Sports Radio, 6 p.m. Central Time for the DraftKings show. Keep an eye out for on this channel right here, 9 p.m. Central Time, the UFC Vegas full card breakdown, just the tip. I will see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy the Die Hard MMA podcast, and we will talk to you guys soon. God bless each and every one of you. Thanks for hanging out with your Uncle Weezy, and we will see you guys tomorrow. God bless.